Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday edition of Trail Talk. I am Mary, coming to you live from our classroom studio here at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center in Duncan, Oklahoma. We are joined today by a special guest, Miss Carolyn Rogers. She is here with us today, and she is what we call around here our Crepe Myrtle lady, if you would. So I am going to introduce Miss Rogers, and we're going to just have a little conversation here around and about the Crepe Myrtle. So Miss Rogers, welcome here.
Thank you, Mary.
To the Trail Talk edition.
Okay.
So Carolyn, like I said, is known as the Crepe Myrtle lady here around town. She is responsible for getting Duncan on the map, and we are now known as the Crepe Myrtle capital of Oklahoma. So how did that kind of come to be? What was your inspiration, or how did you come about that?
Okay, I married my husband back in 1989 and moved to Duncan in 1990. And while I was traveling around the town, just kind of getting acquainted with the town, I noticed how beautiful the crepe myrtles were because it was in June and they were blooming beautifully. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be neat to make this the crepe myrtle capital of Oklahoma because of all these beautiful crepe myrtles? Because I'm from Northeast Oklahoma and we didn't have as many up there. But in Muskogee, Oklahoma, they have azaleas and they have an azalea park, and it brings in lots of people to the community. And I thought, perhaps that might work for Duncan too. If we have enough crepe myrtles, people want to come just to see the pretty blooms during the summer because they are summer blooming plants. So that was in 1990. Okay, in 2006, we get all this time in here, and I'm doing a lot in Duncan with other activities. I was a real estate broker. So what I did was, along with a bunch of other people, we did Dream Duncan's Destiny. We had 4 months of meetings on what to do. And when it came time to volunteer for Duncan beautification, I raised my hand. I was interested. And the first thing I wanted to do was make Duncan the Crepe Myrtle capital of Oklahoma. And that was able to come about as a result of our state senator, Anthony Sykes at that time, and our representative. And I talked to them about it, and they said, well, we need to know that the community's all for this. So I had all the realtors in town, send letters and stuff and little notes and emails and what have you to them. And they said, okay, we understand
They're behind you.
They're behind us. So we finally got it done on February the 27th, 2008.
So a couple of years.
I started the Duncan beautification the 1st of 2007.
Okay.
So here we are in February of 2008, and it's official. It's signed by the governor. At that time, our Jerry Askins from Duncan was acting governor since the governor, Mary Fallon, was gone at that time. So she signed it. So it's been signed. It's official. And it's official that at Crepe Myrtle is one name or one word rather than two. Because the two usually is more prevalently known, but Dr. Whitcomb, who does crepe myrtles in Stillwater, Oklahoma, said it needs to be one word because it's not a myrtle. So if you have it crepe myrtle, two words, it looks like it's a myrtle plant and it's not.
Okay, so that's the difference there.
That's the difference there. So we became the crepe myrtle capital at that time. And the idea was to plant as many crepe myrtles as we can in the parks and for people to jump on board and plant them in their yard, especially in the front where you see them.
Right, from the street.
From the street, because there's a lot of beautiful crepe myrtles in people's backyards.
Backyards that people can't see.
You can't knock on their doors.
Can I come see your crepe myrtle?
So anyway, then we had a drought.
Of course.
That was lovely. So here we are with the drought, and we have all these crepe myrtles we want to get planted. We did we had fundraisers each year called Crepes for Crepe Myrrhs.
Okay.
And that was all the money we got was from our fundraisers. And we used that to plant some crepe myrtles around different places. I learned my lesson that you just don't want to give a crepe myrtle to anybody. You want somebody to be
kind of knowledgeable.
Yes, engaged. And I had a sheet of paper on how to take care of it and all that. But they need to make sure that they water it real good the first year or two. And I say 2 years, but for sure 1, because they need to get that root established.
The roots established in the soil.
And once those roots are established, you can't hardly kill them. They're real drought tolerant, and they'll accept any soil that we've got out there. But obviously, they're going to bloom a little bit better if they've got some water.
Right.
So anyway, we had Drought. And so we had it for several years. So we don't have as many crepe myrtles as I would like for us to have. That we can't have too many as far as I'm concerned.
Even if everyone had their own, that
Maybe everyone had their own. So that was in 2008 that we became the Crepe Myrrh capital. 2009, we put a mural on the Palace Theater downtown at 10th and Main, which is absolutely glorious.
It is.
It's beautiful. And Dr. Bob Palmer and his artist, two of his artists, did that. They stayed at our house. We became Roger's bed and breakfast. And we fed them and took care of them. So then in 2000, that was in 2009. So 2010, we decided we needed a trail. So Dana Shaning, who worked for the city at that time, and I sat down and we came up with this plan. And the idea was to have people so they could drive up and down the highway, starting at Camelback all the way to Main Street.
So pretty much the length of Duncan.
Pretty much, yeah. And then off to the side, we go down Beach, on both sides of Beach, and then down Chisholm Trail Parkway, past the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center, and then back to the right toward the hospital, there on Elk. And then we also at Plato, went down Plato and all the way down Country Club and 10th Street, all the way down to, the historic Main Street. And then past one block to Willow.
Okay.
And we wanted kind of a walking trail in here. So you've got, this is the main part of the Main Street area. So then you block south, you've got Willow, and then back on 7th, and you've got Walnut. So you could walk that.
Right.
And then you can also walk up 9th Street over to Pine. And like I say, then you've got, I tried to plant a new Crepe Myrtle downtown, but there had been something planted there before, and we just couldn't get the roots out in that.
Couldn't get it.
So it can be, hard to plant them in a big square in concrete, but there's just so much we could do.
Right.
There's just a lot, but anyway, that's our trail, and we wanted to make it so that it was a driving trail and a small walking
An
trail.
area where they could walk
So
as
they could
well.
walk it, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, awesome. It's like you can come in, people just driving through town then, even if they just come through the highway, they'll still have their own portion here that they can see of the trail. They don't have to necessarily veer off the path.
And one of the things that we're doing, when you come to Main Street, the sign that says Main Street, there's a Crepe Myrtle on the end of it. And I'm wanting to do Crepe Myrtle plants on all the major places.
The intersections there.
Along there. We just did one on Beach, the one that as you're going north, right there by Homeland. We've got one
Where
there.
that Duncan.
Yeah, and we've got some work to do to get them stable enough to put up there. Believe it or not, that sign is 6 feet wide.
Really?
Yeah, and 2 feet tall, and it does not look like
It doesn't when you're
No,
on
it
the
looks
street.
little bitty,
Yeah.
but it's not. And so you can imagine how nice that would look. The one on Main Street was done by a different person than I had one for Beach and Elk and Plato, and then I want to finish the others up later too. But what we did is I wanted to have a pretty Crepe Myrtle. I wanted to look more like a Crepe Myrtle because I thought the one on Main Street looked too much like a popsicle to me.
A popsicle.
So I may replace that one at some point. But it's fun, the Crepe Myrtle Trail. I was at the park one day and somebody said, I want to see where all your Crepe Myrtles are. And so I was trying to tell them if they come down the Chisholm Trail Parkway, the Simmons Center has beautiful Crepe Myrtles.
Right.
And you have some here too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
And the care of Crepe Myrtles is something that people need to recognize, that it's a summer blooming plant and it loves the sun. So you want to plant it in
Where it can have the sun.
6 to 8 hours of sun every day. And the first year or two, you want to water them.
Like you said, water it.
Water
plenty
it,
enough.
yes, you do. There's also it doesn't have very many pests, but lately from China, or from Asia, I'll say that Asia, they brought us over a little called Crepe Myrtle bark scale. It's a little white incrustation, kind of grayish whitish, that came to us. And you'll see some of that where you can put a systemic drench around your plant to keep it from doing that and treat it with that. But you only fertilize them in the spring. You don't need to fertilize them in the fall like you do most trees.
Just the springtime.
Just the springtime. And you don't have to trim off the little seed heads. And what I teach people a lot about, do not crepe murder your crepe myrtle.
I saw that when I was doing some research. I saw the crepe murdering and I was like, That's something.
And I didn't come up with that word, but yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
people say,
I guess
"Oh,
that's just totally destroying the plant or the
well,
itself is over pruning or.
yeah, pruning less is much better than pruning too much.
Mhm.
They really don't need pruning, period, unless a branch is dead, broken, or crossing over and rubbing on another
Another
branch.
one.
And then you can take the one that's going to the center, take it out and take it back to the main branch. And it'll look fine. If they get too thick in there, like what happened this year, which we were not too happy about, was we had that freeze in
Yeah, it got
February,
really bad.
which did a lot of damage to crepe myrtles as well as other plants. And so it killed the tops, but the roots were just alive and well and no problem whatsoever.
Mhm.
So a lot of them started coming back from the roots and all that top was gone. And so it needed to be cut off
All the way down.
all the way down. Now, some people have let the branches grow up through the dead ones,
Mhm.
and the dead ones are not going to come back to life. So
Right.
at some point, you're going to
And
have to
cut
take,
those off.
you're going to take those and take them back as far as you can.
Right.
Dr. Whitcomb, like I say, he is a horticulturist and he has hybridized and has patented crepe myrtles in Stillwater. He was a professor there at Stillwater for a number of years. And he and I become real good friends.
Mhm.
He's got 160 acres there in Stillwater.
I bet he has a lot.
Oh, he's got about 70,000 crepe myrtles.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine?
It must be beautiful when they all
Oh,
bloom though.
It
like
is.
that.
He took Rick and I for a ride in his little tractor out, seeing all those crepe myrtles around. So it was fun, especially for me, because I'd like to take a lot of those and just
And
bring
transport
down.
them, right?
Yeah. And he's given me some.
Mhm.
He's actually given me some plants. And so we have some around town. But he's quite the horticulturist and he hybridizes them. And so as a result, he's trying to perfect an orange one because he went to OSU.
They like their orange. They do like their orange.
Yeah. And the thing about crepe myrtles, until 1996, there was not one single true red crepe myrtle. They were either white, pink, or lavender or purple.
Mhm.
So in 1996, he perfected one. It's called Dynamite. And then he perfected one called Red Rocket, and then Tightwad Red, and then Siren Red. And they're really red.
Right.
They're red. One of them is brighter than the other. He's got another one called Double Dynamite now too. And those are patented crepe myrtles. So
Really?
he can get more money for them because
Mhm.
he patented those. He's
That's
got several
specific.
others, that specific ones. But so in 1996 is when we came up with the true red. And Beijing was having their one of their big I don't know if it's a Summer Olympics or whatever.
Mhm.
And they came to him and got red crepe myrtles and took them back
For
to
that celebration.
Yeah, for that celebration.
Huh.
So if you go to Beijing and you see these red crepe myrtles, they came from Oklahoma.
They came from around here.
Yeah,
Well,
they
that's
did.
pretty cool.
yeah,
Huh.
it really is.
So excuse me, whenever you say you have all of these crepe myrtles, like, do you go around and do you actually take care of those? Or is there a committee or how does the ones that are actually for the city, how are those
Well, the
cared for?
city's been taken care of by the city.
Okay.
I came up with an idea recently, and because of the possibility of people getting injured or something, I came up with a deal called Crepe Crusaders. Instead of Cape
Mhm.
Crusaders, Crepe Crusaders.
Mhm.
And I hope maybe I can get that done next year. Have a group of people that volunteer to go out and help people with their crepe myrtles and trimming them properly. If you don't want to, when you say crepe myrtle, what you do, you take off a large portion of the top and you leave little stubs that look like this.
Mhm.
And then when they start to grow back, they go like little riches brooms, and they look deformed.
Mhm.
They're not as pretty.
Right.
So that's why you don't want to crepe
Don't
myrtle.
want to
Yeah. And so that this Crepe Crusaders, which I'd like to implement, would be fun for they could go around town, since we're the crepe myrtle capital, to make sure that we're on target for taking care of them and knowing what to do.
Well, and that would help too for people that maybe move to town and have them in their yards or something, maybe don't know how to care for them.
Yeah.
You know, that would give them a resource.
Well, when I came to Duncan, when I saw them, I didn't even know what they were called.
And now you have all
I
of this
know.
knowledge.
Yeah, I've become an expert all of a sudden.
That's right.
Yeah, and I have studied a lot, and I had people locally at Gardentown, Colleen Driggs and Tom Montgomery and Ricky Harrison with Naturescape over in Lawton. I've had them, talk to them and visited with them, and also Neil Speary down in Texas. He has a magazine, and he also was responsible for McKinney, Texas, being the Crepe Myrrh city of Texas. And so we've had a lot of conversations, and so he's helped me a lot too.
Different resources
Yeah.
that you're able to reach out to.
Yeah, so that, you learn by researching, and you
Mhm.
learn by talking to people, knowledgeable people. And that's basically what I've done in order to be the Crepe Myrtle lady.
So there you have it. That's how you earn that title right there.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah, it's been fun and it's
Uh-huh.
been enjoyable, and I'll turn 80 in January, so.
you don't look it at all. I
Oh,
mean, you look
thanks.
wonderful.
Thanks,
Yes.
but I'm here to tell you, you're not quite as energetic.
Not much of a go-getter as it
I
once
go
was.
outside to work on my crepe myrtles. I had some, it's in a bottle, and it's called sucker stop, because some crepe myrtles sucker a lot, that basically a crepe myrtle is a bush.
Okay, I was gonna
Okay.
ask if it's classified as a bush, a
It's-
tree, a
It's
shrub.
It's classified as a bush, and it came to us from China. It first went to England, and it didn't work there because it was the weather did not
Yeah.
cooperate. And then it came to Savannah, and it came to Charleston, and they loved it here. And so it started in the south, and then it just moved all the way across.
Mhm.
Now, they're only good in about zone 7 and parts of zone 6. So if you live in Montana, you're not going to grow a crepe myrtle.
Okay,
So it needs to be zone 7 and 8, 9, 10, they're fine there. But when in some parts of 6, you can get by with it as long as it's protected. So it's a sun-loving plant. And so it started out as a bush, and then they've been changing it and hybridizing in such a way that it becomes, you've got 5 sizes. You've got a miniature, you've got a dwarf, you've got an intermediate, you've got a medium, and you've got a tall. And so the sizes vary. The medium or the miniature only will get 3 feet tall.
okay, so more shrub-like.
It's more shrub-like,
Mhm.
and they're usually real dense. And then you have some like the white, you've got some here, the white natchez, and they'll get 30 feet taller.
My goodness,
Yeah.
but they're still considered
They're-
that same,
They're a crepe myrrh, but they're the tall.
okay,
And so I have a poster that shows all the different categories of crepe myrtles and those 5 sizes,
mm-hmm,
and which ones, the names of them. They have names just like we do. You're Mary, I'm
Mhm.
Carolyn.
mm-hmm,
And so the white natchez it's called natchez, and then we've got dynamite, and we've got all kinds of names that
so they're classified, have their sizes, and then also by their colors,
and in those categories, there's just different colors. They're not classified by their colors.
okay,
Because in each
right,
category,
there's
they're-
colors of each
they have,
one,
yeah, there's usually colors of each one.
okay,
And so it's pretty interesting.
okay, let's see. Oh, I think we had a question, in the past hard freeze, did we lose any of the crepe myrtles?
Not very many at all.
So they were able to survive
were
that
able to
hard freeze,
survive
because it was
because the-
probably what, 3 or 4 days that we were pretty well
below
frozen?
0. Yeah. Well, and when I talked to Dr. Whitcomb about it, because I called him instantly, and he said, Carolyn, those roots are alive and well. And when you cut them back for them to start back up again,
Mhm.
he said they will grow like crazy. And they did. And they bloomed, and they did just fine. But now you've got a bushy, it used to be more of a tree or limbed up at the
Mhm,
bottom,
mhm.
and now it's kind of bushy. So what you do is you take out some of of those limbs or stems at the bottom and let the stronger ones grow, so that it'll grow back into
Or to the more
of a-
taller.
more of a taller tree
Mhm.
size.
Uh-huh.
But the less pruning you do, the better. Mainly because of just those 3 things I mentioned.
Right, yeah,
If it's dead, it's broken, or it's crossing. over.
crossing over and
Yeah.
rubbing on one another
Yeah,
there.
rubbing on one another.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this sounds like something that maybe I have what's called a black thumb, or it's colorless, because I can kill, I think I could kill even a artificial plant. I think I could probably do damage. Cactus, aloe vera, you name it, I have killed it. And I used to work for a physician here in town, and his wife would come in and take care of the plants. And finally, she looked at me one day. I thought I was doing a favor, by
Sure.
watering them.
Sure.
And she looked at me and she said, Mary, please don't. She said, you're killing my plants. You're watering them way too much. If you can lift them up, then, just please stop. She was begging me, please stop. And so I've come to the conclusion that if it grows in my yard, then there's a chance I might be able to keep it alive. And this sounds like maybe something, as long as, like you said, it sounds something like the roots, as long, the roots are really the main
Yeah,
main
the
source
roots,
there.
the roots didn't get frozen, just the tops.
Just the tops
So
where it
the
was
roots were
exposed to
alive
the
and well, so it's
elements.
gonna come back. And there were some of the white natchez, believe it or not, did better than most at coming back at the top. Some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. They just came back from the bottom.
From the
And
bottom.
that's why those tops needed to get trimmed off. But they are a bush and they want to be a bush. So that's why some of them sucker a lot at the bottom. I went out there the other day. I forgot to mention that. I started to talk about it, got sidetracked. But I have that sucker stock. So I trimmed off all those little suckers that were coming up and I sprayed it with this on all those cuts that I made. So we'll see how good this works.
So when you say suckers, what does that mean?
Well, here it is. You've got a tree size
Mhm.
and all of a sudden these little sprigs come up at the bottom.
From the bottom of
Yeah.
it,
Uh-huh.
like they're trying to branch out
Yeah,
from
like
the,
they're, right, yeah.
like they're trying to grow new ones
They're trying
from
to
the.
do no ones, yeah. And sometimes you'll have one that you'll get suckers over here. The plant's here, but you've got some suckers growing over here.
Really
And it's like the roots
have just decided to go.
have caused that, and you usually don't do well by trying to dig it up and transplant it. But for some reason, this year, because of, all the freeze and everything, I've got a beautiful pink crepe myrtle in our side yard. And all of a sudden, I've got these new plants way over here. And I have some white ones on the corner of my backyard called Pixie White. And I ordered them from a farm in Arkansas because I couldn't find them in Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And I was looking on my chart and I wanted a miniature. And so I find out this place in Arkansas and they send them to me. And it's a miniature, all right, but because our soil's pretty rich, it kind of grew a little taller than a miniature. And it just spread out like this.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it spread out, and because I cut it back to about like this
Mhm.
in the spring because of that freeze, it's still just as,
Just wants to go, huh?
yeah, just went everywhere.
I wonder if it makes it sound like the roots, they just really want to come out. They're so strong. There's so much
Yeah,
in there that they're trying to find a way out, maybe.
okay. And one of the things that you need to remember too, this might be a good plant for you. If you have a crepe myrtle and you want to move it someplace, you don't like it there,
Mhm.
maybe you planted it in the wrong place. It's not getting enough sun or it's too close to your house or whatever. If you dig it up, you better get all those roots because it'll keep coming back.
Oh, it's one of those, you
It's
got to
one
get
of
it
those.
all or
You got to
it'll.
get all the roots. So this farm where I got these Pixie White, he said, Carolyn, since you're the crepe myrtle capital of Oklahoma, I'll just send you a free crepe myrtle. And I said, oh, what kind? He says, well, I'm not sure. He says, I think it's pink and it's only going to get 6 feet tall. So I thought, I got the perfect place for it. So when it came, it was just a little stick. Believe it or not, those little sticks grow. So I put it where I thought it would be okay. Blooms were white and it got 12 feet tall that first year.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So I had a friend dig it up
Mhm.
and we transplanted it. Well, more kept coming back. And so I dig it up and it still came back. It's still there.
Really?
Yeah, I just left it.
That's where it wants to be.
That's where it wants to be. And it's not so close to the house that it's a problem,
Mhm.
but it's closer than probably what I would have done.
Right.
I would have put it out where,
If you would have known what it
if I'd
was.
have known what it was,
Mhm.
yeah. But it's not pink.
And it's not, it's a little taller than what you were
And I'm
expecting. as
going,
well.
this is either a white natchez or it's called it Sarah's favorite. That's another one.
Uh-huh.
That's real tall. It's
And
white.
it's white as well.
Uh-huh.
So I heard you say something, another white, there's different shades of the white as well? Or
Well,
is it just,
there, yeah,
Slightly
they
different.
are. There's one called Burgundy Cotton, and it's a patented crepe myrtle by Dr. Whitcomb. And when the leaves start coming out, they're kind of a burgundy color. And then as the summer goes on, they get greener. And when the plants start blooming, they're white, but then they kind of turn more pinkish. So
there's a change?
Yeah,
there.
it's pink and it's white. It's mainly white,
Uh-huh.
but you can see shades of pink in there too.
Huh,
So it's pretty interesting.
right.
And I love it.
I wonder, that would be interesting to find out how he actually does that, how he,
Well, mainly he does his hybridizing with the stems, not the seeds,
Mhm.
but with the stems. And he has does some with seeds too, but you have more luck if you want to do one, because we had a plant that I've written a book called Crepe Myrtle Care. And in that book is a picture that someone took of a plant that I just loved. And I said, can you remember where you took that picture? Because I'd like to get a start of that.
Uh-huh.
And I've never tried to start one from a stem,
Mhm.
but I've got directions on how to do
it from
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's even in my book.
So how, whenever you're actually digging or planting one, what is the specifications? Like, do you have to go so far down? What are the general guidelines for those?
It's about the same as it would be any bush. You dig only as deep as the plant. You don't want to dig real deep
Mhm.
because when you put it in there, it's going to sink down some anyway.
Okay,
So you'd rather have it up an inch higher than the soil than too deep because then it's going to
sink in further.
But you want to have it, about double the size of the width of it. And so you want, that way the
roots can come out.
can start, really
And
spreading
do
out.
they share soil well with other plants and trees and shrubs and
They
things?
do, but I don't recommend you plant a rose bush underneath it.
Okay.
Because if you need to trim anything, both the roses or the crepe myrtle, they're in the way of each other.
Entwined and
Yeah.
get all mixed in there
Yeah.
together. I was reading also, whenever I was doing my research before we came live, there were some, I don't know if you are aware or know, said there was some health benefits to the crepe myrtle.
Well, it's just so.
Just good to look at. And
Oh, it
nice,
just gives you
different,
such a
just a good
wonderful
warm feeling.
feeling, yeah.
Uh-huh. There was just different things I was seeing. I didn't know if any of
Yeah,
those were.
I need to talk to Carl about that. I've not heard of anything specific,
Mhm.
but just plants in general are so good for you. And being a gardener, an avid gardener like I am, it's a well-being thing
Right.
overall.
Well,
It's
being
just healthy for
outside
you,
and
being
the-
outside in the fresh air,
Mhm.
and you don't want to topple over, but you
Right, and it keeps people active.
It does.
And things like that as well.
It does, yeah. And if you ever want to try Crepe Myrrh, I'll help you.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We might,
Hey, we might get together.
there you
and get you a
go. I
Crepe
know.
Myrrh.
I might get a blue thumb yet. It may turn from black to blue and we may get green eventually.
I
don't
know, I know. But the thing about it is that not everybody has a green thumb. My mom didn't have a green thumb. And I gave her a plant one time that died about 3 days later. And it wasn't even time to water it yet.
It just gave up. It
It
was
just-
like, I'm
yeah.
done.
Yeah.
I'm just not
But you
gonna
can
try.
talk to them.
I've heard that. I've heard you can talk to them and sing to them and
Yeah, I pat them and talk to them, and not all the time. But,
Right.
You
you don't have names for them.
I don't have names for them. But in the house, I used to talk to my, pat them like,
Mhm.
oh, you're looking so good today.
You're looking really rosy today.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is something that, the crepe myrtle is something that, year long, I guess, pretty much it's not something that goes dormant, correct? Is that right?
It does go dormant.
And-
It loses its leaves in the fall.
Okay,
And so then it'll be bare, sometimes if it gets too thick in there and you want to trim something out, that's a good time to do
to
it.
do it when you can
Because
see everything.
When
in
you
there.
can see everything. In my case, I had 2 beautiful crepe myrtles in my backyard, close to our water feature, and the tops died, but it started coming out a little bit in there. So we finally trimmed some of them back, but now it's real bunchy in there. And so this winter, I'm going to take some of those out. But for the most part, we had to cut some of them back to the
Mhm,
ground.
mhm.
And I do need to thin out some of them around the
Around the
bottom.
bottom.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of pests or
They will,
problem? I know you said something earlier about the little white.
crepe myrtle bark scale, yeah.
Mhm.
They can get aphids and they can get powdery mildew, but a lot of the newer species of crepe myrtles do not get powdery mildew. They've sort of bred those out of them.
Mhm.
Aphids don't get them very often. There may be a few different kinds that are more attractive, attract aphids better.
Mhm.
I had some of those, and Dr. Wickham said, get rid of them. I said, get rid of them. He said, yep, you don't want those in your yard.
Right.
So they're very drought tolerant, and they are usually pest resistant. Other than this crepe myrtle bark scale, and I'm sure in time that we'll be getting some products that will do even better than what we have now.
Right.
Right now, it's systemic drench that you put around it. I had a company come in town and do stuff in around my crepe myrtles just because I can,
Mhm.
I needed someone to do that for me.
Right,
So
uh-huh.
I had them do that.
Come in and do that.
Yeah.
Well, your knowledge, I mean, it's amazing. I don't know if I've ever met someone that has as much knowledge as one person can have on one specific plant. I mean, you could probably, well, like you said, you've written books.
I've written a
Or
book
a
called
book
Crepe
on
Myrrh,
it.
yeah. And I do an article in the newspaper periodically called Crepe Myrrh Care.
Okay.
Crepe Myrrh Corner, which I do. And so I can have somebody in the grocery store come up to me and say, can I ask you a question?
Kind of like a dear Abby, right?
Yeah, I'm going, okay. And she's, you don't know who I am, but I see your article and I want to ask you a question about crepe myrtles.
You're getting stalked on the street.
Getting stopped
Your
on the street,
celebrity
yeah.
side.
Yeah, it's so funny.
That's funny.
Because, anyway, it's funny.
Well, it is. I mean, but when you don't know a whole lot and you have
Well-
someone, that you can turn to.
Well, yeah, and I'm happy to share. True gardeners like to share.
Mhm.
They like to, I've got too much of this. Would you like to have some?
Right. And they're kind of like, I mean, in a way, they're farming type
They are.
community. I mean,
It
they
is.
give back to one another. They're a
They do.
community in a way.
Yeah, they do.
So,
So, yeah, because, you want others to enjoy the beauty of those plants too.
right,
And
right.
sometimes I get too many of things
Mhm.
and I say, please. take-"
Please
We-
come take some.
We even have a vegetable garden at our house on the south side. It's small, but believe it or not, we get a lot out of our garden. We have okra this year, a lot of it. I
Mhm.
had someone give me some seeds and I bought some plants. Well, I have too much okra. If you want some okra, call me. And Rick goes out there and cuts the okra and I joke about, oh, here they come. They're gonna bring us some okra.
Bringing
So
more okra to you.
bringing more okra, yeah. So,
Oh, well, I know that you're part of a different organization as well. We talked a little bit before we went live. What was that called for the
the Duncan Enhancement Trust Authority,
DITA?
DETA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will try to put that information on our
Okay.
on the comment section here as well. And is there any other resources or anything that people, if they needed to get in contact with you, or information maybe that about the crepe myrtles, that if people were looking for information, a resource or a website or a phone number that maybe they could?
Well, they're putting, Lost on Jones at the city is putting information out there about DETA.
Mhm.
And so hopefully we can include some things on there. I'll visit with LD.
Okay.
Call her LD.
Yeah,
Lost on.
she's on our board here as well.
I thought she was. Yeah, she is a jewel.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll try to put as much information as we can in our comments so that if you guys have questions or you want more information, you guys can reach out to Ms. Rogers. And of course, if you needed more information on anything that we've talked about, of course, you can call here at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center and we will do our best to get you into contact with whoever it is that you might be looking for. I think, is there anything else that you wanted to
I
say or
can't
talk
think of
about?
anything. I know that the chamber has also had people that really needed some help call me.
Uh-huh.
So they have my number.
Okay,
and
so the
they-
chamber here in
Yeah,
Duncan
the
is
chamber,
way.
yeah, Sandy Stewart. and-
Okay.
And Chris.
Yeah.
Chris Deal.
Yeah, Chris has been here a lot.
Oh,
They
yeah.
come here.
They're wonderful people.
They
We're
are.
lucky to have them in those
I
positions.
know,
Yeah,
they're jewels as well.
yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming here and spending some time with us today. I think it's just wonderful what you've done for,
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
you.
we've got Duncan on the map for being Crepe Myrtle capital. I asked her before we came live, I said, now we're the Crepe Myrtle capital of the world. Just Oklahoma. She said, baby steps. She's getting there. Okay, so just give her some time. She's done a lot. So,
Well, at the time, back in February of 2008, when we were getting voted on to be the Crepe Myrtle capital, there were some people in the state said, well, we need to be the Crepe Myrtle capital. But we'd been working too hard behind the
Mhm.
scenes.
mhm.
And Senator Sykes was a lot of help on that. And anyway, we got it done.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
And so, and of course, we have the trail highlighted here. You guys, we appreciate you tuning in, and Ms. Rogers, again, thank you so much for coming and sitting
Oh,
down and talking with us.
Thank you, Mary, for having me.
Here at, let's see, next week, I believe on Wednesday, we are going to be doing another trail talk, and as well as Thursday. Right off the hand, my mind has totally gone blank, but our website I know is updated as to what we have coming up for you guys next week. Of course, we'll be here live at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, and again 3 o'clock on Thursday next week. Miss Edie will be back with us next week as well. And so here at Trail Talk, we like to close out with the happy trails to close out each
Okay.
episode. So if you
All
wouldn't mind joining me on that.
Okay, I'll be glad to.
All right, so until next time, thanks for watching us today, guys, and we'll see you next week. Happy trails.